What up, everybody? You're watching New York Giants Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Marshall Green. In today's video, we're going to break down the possibility of a Stefon Diggs trade to the New York Giants because there are some rumors swirling around Diggs and the Buffalo Bills. Go back to the playoffs. It was an ugly end to the season for the Buffalo Bills. They lost early in the playoffs. They did not reach their goals. And in that game they lost in the playoffs, there's video of Stefon Diggs getting in the face of Josh Allen and them going back and forth. And then there was a report that came out that Stefon Diggs grabbed his stuff and got out of the locker room before the Buffalo Bills coach got into the locker room to talk to the team. And Stefon Diggs had a weird tweet yesterday afternoon. He said, "Come and rescue me." A couple of E's and N's and D's, and I'm not going to sing it for you. I don't know if it's a song, and I thought maybe it was a song, but he tweeted that out at 9:46 p.m. And then his brother, who plays for the Dallas Cowboys, at 11:47 p.m. tweeted, "We could play each other twice a year." So I'm like, well, what teams play the Dallas Cowboys twice a year? The Philadelphia Eagles. They are not trading for Stefon Diggs. The Washington football team or the Commanders, are they going to trade for Stefon Diggs? They already have some young, talented receivers over there. So I was like, maybe, I'm not really thinking about it. Maybe it's the New York Giants. Then I went on to Trayvon Diggs' Twitter. I went to his likes. And some guy tweeted at him, "Stefon Diggs to the Giants?" ? And Trayvon Diggs liked it on Twitter. So here we go. Stefon Diggs to the Giants. Could it happen? Maybe, but I think it's important to know that Stefon Diggs earlier this offseason scrubbed his Instagram of everything related to the Buffalo Bills. This is a screenshot of Stefon Diggs' Instagram. Does not mention the Buffalo Bills in his bio, which he used to do. And I went through every picture that he had on his IG, and none were of him in a jersey with the Bills. So there's a lot of smoke surrounding this right now. Are we grasping at straws here? Maybe, but his brother liked a tweet that said, "Stefon Diggs to the Giants," and he said maybe we could play twice a year. I mean, Stefon Diggs literally said, "Come and rescue me." Maybe he's talking to Joe Shane and Brian Dable to get him out of Buffalo and bring him to be a New York football Giant. So I want to ask you guys this question as we continue to break this down and what it might cost for the Giants to trade for the all-pro wide receiver. Do you think they should do it? Should the Giants make a trade for Stefon Diggs? Type T for trade, type P for pass. Let me know what you think down in the comment section. And I also want to let you guys know, if you aren't subscribed to the channel, what are you doing? Hit that big red sub button, because if the Giants make a move, we make a video here on the channel. And we're getting closer and closer to 27,000 subs here on the channel. We're doing it for Brandon Jacobs. We're 243 subs away. I think we can get there on today's video. I know the boss would be happy if we did. If you love the Giants, sub videos every day on Big Blue. The connections from Stefon Diggs to the New York football Giants are obvious, right? I mean, his old offensive coordinator is Brian Dable, who's the head coach of the New York football Giants. His old assistant general manager, who was a part of the front office that traded for Diggs when he was once a part of the Minnesota Vikings, is now the general manager for Big Blue. Joe Shane, Brian Dable, they obviously have a relationship with Stefon Diggs, and you've heard Joe Shane talk about he wants to bring guys into the building that he knows and has a relationship with and knows how they work and how they act and how their teammates and how their character is inside the building. If he thinks that fits, that being Stefon Diggs and the Giants, I think it could make some sense. And obviously, Diggs fixes the Giants wide receiver need. We know the Giants made some moves in NFL free agency, and they traded for Darren Waller, who might step in as their number one wide receiver, even though he's really a tight end. You add Stefon Diggs, and you're cooking with some grease now, because Isaiah Hodgins is a good receiver. I don't know if he's a legit wide receiver one in the NFL. Sterling Shepard, one of my favorite Giants of all time, is someone that has been dealing with a lot of injuries over the past couple of years. Wan'Dale Robinson is coming off a torn ACL. Darius Slayton is a good deep threat, but he's not good enough to be one of your top dogs on the outside if you want to compete for a Super Bowl trophy. Paris Campbell was a good pickup, but he's on a one-year deal. Slayton's on a 2-year deal. Shepard's on a 1-year deal. Jamison Crowder is on a 1-year deal. Colin Johnson's coming off a torn Achilles. The Giants need an alpha. They need a wide receiver one. They need a game changer on the outside, and that is exactly what Stefon Diggs is. Look at what he's done the last 4 seasons, dating back to 2019. over 1,100 yards, over 1,500 yards, over 1,200 yards, over 1,400 yards. 3 straight seasons of more than 100 grabs. And in 2019, he didn't have 100 grabs, but he had 63 catches for 1,100 yards and 17.9 yards per catch. 6 touchdowns, 8 touchdowns, 10 touchdowns, 11 touchdowns. He fits perfect. He can play in the slot. He can play outside. He knows the Brian Daboll offense. And he would be the go-to guy for Daniel Jones. It all comes down to trade value, though. What are the Buffalo Bills going to ask for if Joe Schoen calls up and picks the phone up and calls Brandon Beane, his good old buddy, his former boss in Buffalo, and says, "Hey, yo, Beane, what's it going to take for us to get Stefon Diggs to the Big Apple?" Well, let's go through a couple of recent trades. Let's look at this one. Stefon Diggs, when he was traded from the Vikings to the Buffalo Bills in 2020, it costed them a first-round pick, number 22 overall. But that was in 2020. That was 3 years ago. Stefon Diggs is 29 years old right now. So that was when he was 26. Is he still worth a first-round pick? We'll dissect that. What about a big trade last year that involved an NFC East team like the Philadelphia Eagles? They got A.J. Brown, which turned around their offense. They gave up pick number 19, and they gave up a third-round pick in that same draft. What about Davante Adams, who was an older receiver at the same time? He went for a first-round pick and a second-round pick. I don't think Diggs is in the same stratosphere as Adams. I think there's only a couple of guys that can really match the type of player that Davante Adams is, but Stefon Diggs is still one of the best in the National Football League. Then you look at what the Miami Dolphins gave up to get Tyreek Hill. They gave up a bunch. That was probably the most expensive trade for a wide receiver. They gave up a first-round pick, a second-round pick, a fourth-round pick, another fourth-round pick, and a sixth-round pick. I don't think this is nearly what it's going to cost to get Stefon Diggs. I think maybe it costs a first-round pick, maybe a second and a third. But I think the good thing here is that he probably wouldn't need a new contract because he just signed an extension with Buffalo in the 2022 offseason of 4 years worth up to $96 million. So a little bit different than the DeAndre Hopkins trade, where if you traded for Hopkins, you'd have to give him a new deal. I don't think you'd have to give Diggs a new deal. Maybe you guarantee some of the money because maybe that gets lost in the trade, but I think it would just be a straight-up pick, maybe one pick. What would it be? I don't know. Let's look what the Giants have in the cupboard of their draft ammunition. You know they have a first-round pick, and it's pick number 25. They have a second-round pick, 57. Only 3 picks this year in the top 100 because they did trade pick number 100 for Darren Waller. So you got to make the decision. Is Stefon Diggs a guy that you're willing to maybe give up a first-round pick for? We talked about the wide receiver depth chart a little bit earlier. I think you add Stefon Diggs to Hodgins, Shepard, Robinson, Slayton, and Campbell, and maybe even Crowder. That's a really, really good wide receiver core. And I think that could be maybe one of the best in the NFL, especially when you bring in Darren Waller into that room as well. So what about this trade idea right here? Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen bring back their number 1 wide receiver from Buffalo, bring him to New York, pair him with Daniel Jones. But you got to give up your first-round pick, number 25 in the 2023 NFL Draft. I want to ask you guys, would you do this trade? Let's say Brandon Beane said, "Hey, we want pick number 25. Would you do it? Would you do it?" Type A for accept, type D for decline. Sound off for me down in the comment section. Pull the trig. Let's go. Let's get Stefon Diggs to New York. Let's make him a part of the football team. You trade for Stefon Diggs, you fix your offense's problems. Yes, you still need a starting center. I know that. I know you probably need another interior offensive lineman. But he would immediately be your best offensive player on this football team. Maybe Andrew Thomas could, be that guy. But Stefon Diggs is someone that I think could elevate this offense and make Daniel Jones a better football player. Because when you're a quarterback and you have a guy like Stefon Diggs that you trust in any one-on-one situation, like you see number 14 out there, he's one-on-one, no safety over the top because you got Darren Waller on this side and you got Saquon Barkley going in motion to the left. You're expecting Diggs to win any single one-on-one matchup, get open, create separation, and catch the football. This makes Daniel Jones better. This makes your offensive line better because you can't blitz as much with Stefon Diggs out there. It makes Saquon Barkley better because you're going to face lighter boxes and open more running lanes. I'd pull the trigger. I know he's going to be 30 in November, but look, maybe get 3 or 4 great years out of him, another 2 solid years, 1 year, plays till he's 35, 36. I'd be down with Stefon Diggs as a part of the Giants. I appreciate everybody for tuning in to today's video. Hope you're having a good Sunday. If you miss anything about the Giants, you can find it out over on my Twitter at @MarshallGreen_. If you made this far in the video, hit that thumbs up icon for me.